All right. Hey, Lab Coat Agents. We are live today with Shon Kokoszka of Icon Coaching. What's up, Shon? Thanks so much for being here. It's super exciting to have you. I just want to let everyone know who Shon is in case you're unaware. Shon is now the founder of Icon Coaching. He was the past president of KW Maps. And so anyone in Keller Williams and not in Keller Williams for that matter, I'm sure you know Maps Coaching. He's consulted with companies like McDonald's, Panasonic, FedEx, and he has learned their systems and models, and he has taken what he's learned from them and turned it into how to make your real estate business better with best practices and how to take yourself to the next level from what he has consulted with these companies outside of the business. And so today we're going to talk about your greatest challenge in building a business, the who, the what, and the how paradox, and what you're doing today won't necessarily get you to what you need to do tomorrow. So without further ado, I'm going to send it right over to Shon because he's got a killer PowerPoint presentation, and I'm really excited to dig right into it. Shon, how's it going?
Nick, it's going awesome, man. Thank you for having me again here at Lab Coat Agents. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate the opportunity to just add value to these folks. And I trust you're going to gain something of value today that you can implement, deploy in your business immediately to improve your trajectory, your productivity, as well as your profit. So unless you had other questions, Nick, I'm just going to go ahead and share the screen. Is that cool?
I'm ready to go, man. Share the presentation. Let's dig into it. Everyone get your notebooks ready because it's going to be a lot of writing.
Let's do it. All right. So first, I put this word up there on the screen, success. And the question is, what does that word mean to you? And let's face it, gang, if you had the time and you took the time to ask 1,000 different people what their definition of this word is, let's face it, you'd probably get back 1,500 different answers. Am I right? So in order to really understand that word and truly be successful ourselves, well, I think first we need to understand the definition. So I just went back to Webster's dictionary. I looked up the word, what does success mean? And it's really quite simple, gang. Success is getting what you want. Not what someone else wants, what you specifically want. And yet instinctively, inherently, we recognize that given the definition, in order to be successful, we've all got to know something, right? That's right. We got to know what we want. Yet most people take an average approach on how to identify what they want, and even worse, an average approach on how they're going to get it. That's not today's webinar. We're going to be talking through success. We're going to be talking through the what, how, and who paradox. And here's how most people, they view success. They think it's this upward trajectory towards success, and man, you're just on a rocket ship and you're just heading and accomplishing goal after goal after goal. Dang, it doesn't look like that. It looks more like the one on the right? It's messy. Success is messy. There's no question about it. What I've found, anybody that I've consulted with, or been coached by that has achieved extraordinary success in their career, they'll tell you it's about failing your way forward. They'll tell you it's about dealing with the challenge and then taking the next right step. So have a 2-minute funeral and then take the next right step, right? Just don't let it sink in. Failure doesn't define us. It refines us. It prepares us for the future. It's not a step back. It's a set up for a brighter future. No doubt about it. Yet I believe that success leaves clues. And that's how Icon was really founded. It's based on 25 years of analyzing, studying those that have gone before us that have achieved extraordinary success in their careers, and analyzing the missteps that they've taken so that we can learn from their failures as well to really develop a model that will allow you to simply plug and play given your existing modalities and structure. So let me just share with you what we do here at Icon real quick. We do this thing called the Icon of the Month webinar series. So every month I identify one individual who is just crushing it in real estate. I oftentimes will fly out to their office. I'll interview them, their staff. I'll look at their models, their systems. I'll ask them questions like, what was your biggest failure in the business? Because let's face it, the smart person, and Nick, you already know this, they're going to learn from their own mistakes, yeah?
Oh,
the
totally.
smarter people, they're going to learn from the mistakes of others. Yet the smartest people of all, gang, they study and learn from the successes of other individuals. At Icon, we've done all of that for you. In fact, we've got a library of past webinars with the icons who are just opening the Komodo saying, here's what I do, gang. Here's how I do it. And in addition to that, like Mark Spade, for example, I mean, the guy's closing over 3,000 transactions per year, yet he didn't start there. He started as an on-site salesperson in a new home community. So I said, Mark, let's rewind the tape, man. What did you do? How did you do it? And ultimately, he shared with us the secret sauce. He said, I did this. It didn't work. I tweaked it this way. It finally worked. I found the right call to action. And when I found the right call to action, man, I just leaned into it. I rolled up my sleeves. I reinvested time and time again to really scale that model. Then once we mastered that, I said, what's the next right thing? And so he started then with billboards, right? He got one billboard, didn't have the right message, found the right messaging, and then leaned into it. Now the guy has 110 different billboards, right? All over the Atlanta metro area. Then he got into radio. He started with one station. Turned out it was the wrong station. He found the station where his demographic would actually pay attention and tune in. Now he's on 8 different radio stations. He did, television, and he started with one station. Now he's with 7 different television stations across Atlanta. Man, every time I get out to Atlanta, Nick, I turn on my TV. I can't not see Mark Spade's face anymore, right? So now he's hit a point of diminishing returns in Atlanta. So now he's expanding beyond Atlanta. He's going into different states with this model, and gang, it's working. So if you choose to have a big business, if you choose to learn from the successes and failures that have gone before us, then I'll encourage you to engage in the Icon of the Month webinar. Greg Gorman is our next guy up. He's in Naples, Florida. So he's in a kind of a vacation home community, a second home community, 25 plus million in annual sales volume. Now, that's definitely attainable. Yet he does it with a lean team of 4 people. And I've studied his books. In essence, he nets more than any other agent that I've ever spoken with because of his lean operation. They are so focused on keeping expenses low and profits high. I think we can all learn a thing or two from Greg. Additionally, he takes 3 months off every single year, and he still maintains that level of production. So guys,
can I ask you a quick question? Does he take 3 months in a row, or is it spread out?
It's spread out, yet he'll take a month long, go over to Europe, and things still flow smoothly and fluidly for him, just as though he were there.
I mean, that's just about, just really having the right systems and the right people working with you. I mean, that is great leverage to have for something like that.
No doubt, Nick. And you brought up a great word. In fact, at Icon, we choose a word that we're going to focus on every year. This year, the word is leverage.
Oh, it's my favorite word.
Mine too. So leverage really comes in 4 basic categories. There's leverage through models. And what I'm talking about here is your lead generation model, your lead follow-up models, your economic model, your budgeting model, your compensation models, which, by the way, compensation is the secret sauce to getting your people to act like owners, to take ownership of their role on the team. And when you compensate them appropriately, and just sidebar, if you missed last month's webinar, I'll encourage you to go to the Random Acts of Coaching section in the Lab Coat Agent website. Check out that webinar, guys.
I would recommend that too. So all of these webinars from Shon are going to be on Lab Coat Agents under coaching in Shon's profile. So thanks for bringing that up. I just wanted to go back for 1 second to Mark Spain because you brought up some really good points that I think some agents fail to acknowledge. So many agents are just so afraid they're afraid to fail. They're afraid to put money towards something and have it not work, right? And really, like, what it comes down to is the most successful people in this business and in any business have failed so many more times than they haven't. And we're so lucky right now to learn from them, but still you have to fail on your own, and you have to learn from those failures and grow from it. And something that didn't work is to know that it didn't work is kind of an amazing realization.
It is, Nick. I'm so glad you paused on that point, because those that achieve extraordinary success in this business, guys, they've just figured out a way to fail faster. In essence, they attempt something. If they're not getting the traction, they'll pull the plug and they'll move on and find something that gets almost immediate satisfaction. Now, if you're like me, instant gratification just isn't fast enough, right? Nick, I stand in front of the microwave and say, come on, I don't have all minute, right? Let's go. I want it now. I want it yesterday.
Way too long.
So nevertheless, they've increased their success, gang, by increasing their failure quotient. So failure is not bad. It's just learning, right? In this mindset, failure doesn't exist.
Hey, Shon, quick question about from the video on Facebook. Someone's wondering what Greg's team looks like. Is it admin, agents? What type of model does he have?
Which one? Greg Harrelson?
Yeah, this Greg Gorman right here. Someone's curious about his team of four. What are the positions that he has on the team?
Yeah, he has a transaction coordinator, a listing coordinator, a buyer's agent, and himself.
Wow, so only one buyer agent. That's amazing. Okay.
No doubt. Yet they've streamlined the efficiencies. They've systemized their sales process. In a future webinar, we'll talk about systemizing the buyer side of your business, okay, so that you can do it the same way every time, modified only for the natural behavioral tendencies of your prospect, and produce a consistent and predictable result. And I think that's the goal in any business. Yet most realtors are in a fix mindset. Meaning they show up at the office, they put out this fire, they put out that fire, they put out another one, right? And they're firefighters, not real estate professionals. Forever sparking up again. In essence, it's a fixed webinar, no doubt about it. Yet, guys, if you have interest in engaging in the Icon of the Month webinar series, it is absolutely complimentary. We just want to bring this knowledge, bring this wisdom to you, and to get access to it. All you have to do is go to our homepage of our website. It's iconcoachingrE.com. Challenge that I believe that we all face in business. It's this what, how, and who paradox. Now, I'm just going to throw business with that got you to your current level of success game. It doesn't automatically transform into a better combination of what you do, how you do it, and who you do it with that's going to get you to the next level of success in this industry. And here's the fun part. Once we feel that we've mastered it at the current level of success, when we go to springboard to that next level of success, it brings its own bag of new challenges, new leadership skills required, and just new issues that you get to figure out and deal with every step of the way. Now, I consult and coach with individuals that are closing 10 transactions a year, and the Mark Spain, who's closing 3,000 plus transactions per year. And we've assembled that knowledge into a system that will allow you to get a consistent and predictable result. So let's dive into the what first, and let's talk about it. And before we do that, I just want to put a quote up here from my buddy Mark. He said, "My biggest aha ever in real estate business is you've got to list to last." So today's webinar is really going to be more listing focused at first, yet then we're also going to get into ways that you can really attract the right buyer to your business so that you can produce a consistent and predictable result. And there's really 5 phases to the what and the how. So we've got to have the what, how, and who around gaining the lead in the first place. And you've got to make a decision. Are you first going to be a prospecting-based business that's enhanced by marketing? Are you going to be a marketing-based business that's enhanced by prospecting? Now, obviously, the latter, the marketing-based business enhanced by prospecting, comes with a different price tag, and it's going to affect your net profits. So if you're newer to this industry, my input to you is make the decision to be a prospecting-based business first. Engage in the proven best practices around scripts and dialogues, objection handlers, because really when you boil it all down on a prospecting-based business game, your success, your trajectory, your productivity, as well as your profit will be determined by 3 basic things. The first is you've got to know what to say. So having the right words is critical. Second, you got to know how to say it. Are you leveraging language of influence like neurolinguistic language patterns to increase the effectiveness of your scripts? Things like modal operators, embedded commands, analogical markings, adverb, temporal and automatic presupposition language patterns, tie downs, cause and effect language, pacing and leading strategies. Guys, politicians use this stuff to bend the senses, right? We as salespeople can use it to increase our influence with people. So knowing what to say, knowing how to say it, and then finally, number 3, saying it to enough people. So those that really get on in this business, they figured it out. They figured out how to give an inordinate amount of time to the 20% activities, as I call it, And I'm referencing Pareto's principle, obviously, the 80-20 rule, right? An 80-20 rule, to me, is as true as the law of gravity. See, 20% of your client base will give you 80% of your referrals. 20% of the transactions you close will yield 80% of your revenue, and 20% of your prospects will give you 80% of your headaches, no doubt.
I just want to pause for a second because I want to talk about, saying the right thing. And so a lot of things we hear in lab coats, some agents are, so against scripts. I never use scripts. I just talk. Right. And so I think people have the wrong impression of what a script actually is. They're like, I just want to be myself. And I think that you can still be yourself, but these are proven time and time again. You have to say the right thing, And so can we just clear up a myth about what a script really is? It's not necessarily something that you're saying because you feel you have to. I mean, you have to believe what you're saying. It has to be honest. It has to be authentic. So can you clear that up a little bit?
Yeah, to me, a script is more like telling a joke. I would never be an advocate of saying you have to use these words in this order. That's not the point. A script is a basic framework. I mean, Nick, you and I probably know some of the same jokes, right? Yet if we
I would think so, yeah.
Yet if we told those jokes, unless it's a simple 2-word knock-knock joke, it would probably be totally different words. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yet the joke is the framework, right? And we're moving toward a punchline. And yet if we didn't know the joke, here's the difference. Individuals who practice scripts can truly internalize them to the point that it becomes part of who they're being. It becomes part of their language patterns. And yes, you're going to use different words than I use, and that's okay. Let's just make sure that the framework is there, because psychologically, we've got to be able to move this process move the prospect, systematically to the end and desired result, which is the close, whether it's a close for an appointment, a close for a signed listing contract, a buyer agency agreement, or signing the buy and sell agreement. There are scripts or framework, if you will, that you can leverage that will help you get there so much faster. See, to me, when we're scripted with our own vernacular, meaning you can take my words, you can download the scripts from the website for free and just make it you. What would you sound like if you were to say basically the same thing? How would you tell that joke, in other words, which would probably be different than how I would tell that joke? Yet I think it's important to recognize that every large conference that I've ever been a part of, where they have a panel of top producing agents up there and they're telling everybody in the audience how they and their team have achieved extraordinary success, I will tell you that there's one common denominator, and that is that every one of them believes in and uses scripts. Every one of them.
I completely agree with that. Like when I go into a listing consult, there is a beginning, a middle, and an end. I mean, and just like you're saying about a joke, I mean, we can't, the joke's only going to work and make sense if it's told a certain way. And so the same goes for your scripts. You can, make a script your own, but at the end of the day, there are certain parts of that script that have to lead you to, a common ending that's going to play out in your favor. I mean, it's not like we're just.
Yeah, there you go. So an analogy that just popped in my head, Nick, is it's kind of the difference between somebody who can tell a joke and somebody who can do live stand-up through an improv type thing. And some of you think you're Dave Chappelle or Eddie Murphy or Kevin Hart, and you can just go up there and blast it out no matter what. You just show up cold and you say, hey, I don't know, I just kind of wing it. I personally, I would rather approach with intentionality. And even Dave Chappelle, even Kevin Hart, even Eddie Murphy has practiced their routine time and time and time again. Believe it or not, it's absolutely scripted, right?
Yeah, of course.
No doubt. So I think enough about that. Either you believe in it or you don't believe in it. My input, just use it as a framework. And why? Because it produces a consistent and predictable result. When you use a script, you can A/B test it. You can tweak it here, tweak it there, and track your results to then find the proven best practice that's going to get you the end result that you want every single time. Yeah. So it's approaching that conversation with intentionality, right? Okay, so let's go on to nurturing the lead. And nurturing the lead, see, thanks to the digital revolution, gang, there's been a huge problem created for our industry, and let's be frank. thanks to Zillow, thanks to Trulia, thanks to Realtor.com, as well as your own personal websites, you've now developed the ability to to allow prospects, both buyers and seller prospects, to self-identify way early in that pipeline. I mean, they could be 3 years out, yet they stumbled onto your website and they filled out some web form, and you get the lead and you get all excited. Ooh, I got another lead. And yet it's not a lead at all. So there's two distinct buckets nowadays. See, there's the dreaming phase of buying and selling, and then there's the actual buying and listing phase, right? Now, here's the point though. If we ignore them while they're in the dreaming phase, gang, they're going to ignore us when they get into the buying and listing phase. So as I say that, Nick, what do you think every realtor listening to this webinar needs as within their business in order to nurture these prospects?
You tell me, Shon, because I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Well, I think first off, you need a way to organize your data. You need a CRM. Second, you're going to need that content in order to nurture these prospects, to add value to them while they're just dreaming about it. See, our job in marketing, and first, by the way, Nick, what do you suppose your product is as a realtor?
So I think personally, my product is, as a realtor, is not necessarily, my product as a realtor at this point, I think, is the guidance and the consulting through the process of a transaction, and bringing value and bringing a type of experience that's positive to the potential buyer or seller.
I love it. Great response.
Not so much the act of necessarily finding a home, because they can do that on their own, and many of them do. But me, it's like consulting.
Good job. So in essence, let's boil that down a little further. Your product in real estate, well, it's you, right? I mean, you are the brand. And so, I mean, it was a perfect response, Nick, because at the end of the day, if you take your answer, that's what it is. You are the brand. You are the product. And what you've got to be able to do through your nurturing process is position yourself as the realtor of choice. When they think real estate, we want them to think you, no doubt about it. So convert the lead is the next point. And there's several different strategies out there. I believe that, with tens of thousands of leads analyzed, and by the way, I'll go back to my early days in real estate. I was probably the first buyer agent on the face of the planet. That model really didn't exist. And literally we had to fight with our broker to even let him make that happen. So ultimately we won that battle. And, I would go on within 3 years time, closing over 100 buyer side transactions year after year after year. I know I was the first buyer's agent to have a $200,000 commission month. There's no doubt about that.
Wow. Okay.
Yet, and the only way to do that, by the way, is to systemize that process. So what I learned on the buy side, I then transferred over to the list side to systemize the listing process. My last year in production, I went on 162 listing appointments. I took 160 listings. So the conversion rate must be high. Now, how do you get there? Because people will tell you as you expand the number of appointments you go on, your conversion rates will suffer. And I absolutely agree with that. However, the pre-qualification system must be in place. Is this listing worth your time? And you've got to be able to detach from the outcome and say, no, I'm not going to go on that appointment. That's the bottom line. Because if I say yes to one thing, gang, I say no to everything else. So the listing appointments we went on were highly qualified and in a position to sell that house. All right. So converting the lead, let me tell you one more thing about that. On our site, we've got a very inexpensive product. We call it Leads to Dollars. So it is the proven best practices around lead conversion. It's an 18-page workbook. And it's about a 30-minute audio that after you listen to that, gang, you will have the knowledge, the skills. Now, you yourself have to obtain the mindset and the habits to use it, yet you will have that will increase your conversion by at least 200%.
Wow. Okay.
So then you want to service the client with a wow, right? So once they're under contract, what do you do specifically to give that wow experience to ultimately create raving fans, those bird dogs that are going to go out and scare up the deals for you? I'm just going to digress here. I'm just going to share a couple of things that we discovered that really did create that wow experience. So first off, we established a price point. We said if anything above 300,000, when you are going to go to your closing, we're going to send a limousine to pick you up, whether at home or at your office. If you're a buyer, we'll have the limo driver bring you to the bank. You go in and get your cashier's check, and they'll just take care of any personal errands that you need and bring you over to the closing. As soon as you get out of that limo, of course, the driver's going to fill it with balloons, and they put in a bottle of champagne and all of that stuff. We want to make this a monumental experience in their life. And backing up before that, we would send out a closing invitation for them to attend the closing of their home. See, this was more like a quinceañera type invitation. It was really done up really nice. Our intention is that they're going to save that forever. Leading up to the closing also, we would have our transaction coordinator reach out and inform them that we intend to sell their just moved cards for them. And we had several templates. It had a picture of them, had a picture of their house on it, and we would mail it out for them. All they had to do was send us an Excel spreadsheet with everybody they wanted it sent to. Let us take that off your plate. You're busy, you're moving, you don't want to do that. Let us handle it for you, which we did. And of course, we took that data and added it to our database, and we just dripped on those folks because of our affiliation there. We offered to
really, really smart, really smart.
Yeah, that worked, by the way. We also implemented a 10-day to close system, meaning 10 business days prior to the closing of their property, whether buyer or seller, our transaction coordinator would contact them every single day with one little bit of information that they could ingest and digest. And then the next day they would call with one little bit of information. And the next day they would call with one little bit of information. And our intention was to have them have the perception that we over-communicated in the process. Now, this worked effectively, really effectively, especially in new construction, where somebody contracts a dirt start and it takes 7 or 8 months to build that house. I mean, how often can you call them and say, yeah, they're still building it, right? I mean, so the communication gaps were sometimes weeks, months before they'd hear from us again. So by implementing that 10-day to close system and just touch bases with them and share one little bit of information, the perception at the closing table was that we over communicated through that process. We also had a 10-day post-touch campaign. So after they closed on the property, they didn't feel abandoned by us, right? Yet when working with buyers, we had an office building, Nick, that the parking was just a nightmare. And so we negotiated with the landlord to give us the front parking spot right by the front doors. And it wasn't for me, obviously. It's never about me when working with clients. It's always about them. We put a post in the ground and had a 2-foot tall by 18-inch wide white sign that had pre-printed the Kokoszka Group welcomes, and then it was blank. My assistant between appointments would go down with a wet erase marker and with some really nice handwriting, put in their last name. So we would kind of prep them for that and say, by the way, there's a parking spot reserved right up front for you. Don't worry, you can't miss it. It'll be waiting for you. So before I've ever even met these people face to face, they've already seen their name in front of our building. They step into the lobby of the office, and there it is again. The Kokoszka Group welcomes the Johnson family. They're seated by the call coordinator. They're handed a leather-bound drink and snack menu, as well as a clipboard to complete the new buyer survey. Are you an A, B, or C buyer? As well as a soft sell buyer agency agreement, or loyalty agreement, as I called it. And they've completed all of these documents before I've ever met them face to face. The call coordinator would then take it back to me. I could review those documents, which asked all the qualifying questions. And then they were directed to the conference room where their drinks and snacks were waiting for them. And then I would show up with my little workbook in place and PowerPoint and ready to take them through the system of what we call the 20-point buyer presentation, which, by the way, has over 99% conversion rate from first appointment to signed buyer agency. And it sets 20 expectations when working with buyers that need to be set, frankly. And most realtors that quote unquote wing it, who don't believe in scripts, they unfortunately sometimes forget an expectation, right? They forget to talk to them about for sale by owners or new home construction. And then that buyer goes behind their back and they buy a for sale by owner thinking they might save some money. Or maybe they stumble into a new home sales office, they register, and now a week later, they actually want to buy there and you don't get a commission because you didn't introduce them to the property. That, to me, guys, it's painful. And whose fault is it? Well, it's our own for not setting and managing the appropriate expectations. Yet, I digress. Bear with me. But we want to service them with a wow experience. One last and final thing I'll share with you. A way to get just a massive amount of referrals is to promote a home warming party for your buyer clients. So one of the first things they do after they've moved in and settled is they're going to have this housewarming or home warming party. What we would do is get the list of attendees. We would promote the event. We would buy the food, the drinks, and I would show up for about 20 minutes with one intention: to make it all about them, to meet every single person there and make that conversation all about them. And then, I would part company. Yet before I left, there wasn't a time I did this, gang, that they didn't raise a glass to toast their real estate agent in front of all of their loved ones, right? And there wasn't a time also that I did this, that I didn't walk out that door with at least 2 solid referrals. And lender paid for most of the food and beverage. So, it turned into a profit center for me, frankly. I encourage you to give them that wow experience, because customer service, guys, it's just a mindset, right? To give them that experience is a gift that you can give them, which will inspire those referrals. See, a lot of people think, well, I need to ask for referrals. And yes, that's true. Yet I personally would much rather inspire referrals than ask for referrals. Yeah. All right. So I also wanted to bring up this, how to create a domino effect for listings. In essence, take 2 for every listing that you get. And I'm going to say, to get that listing, if you're that agent and you don't have a listing right now, that's okay. Let's take the next right step, right? And I'll encourage you to reach out to those that have raised their hand. They've expressed some interest. They're low-hanging fruit. So expired, withdrawn listings, for sale by owners. You can go to my website. You can download both of those scripts and objection handlers, the framework, let's call it, Nick, okay, to really earn those people's business. Next, once you get a listing, I'll encourage you to engage in an 8-touch circle prospecting campaign. So again, this is around the what you do and how you do it. So sending out just listed postcards, and then following up with a just listed script. Then sending out open house postcards and door knocking the neighborhood, inviting them to attend the neighborhood only open house, which is the first hour of the open house. And then the rest of the open house is for the general public. Then a just pended campaign where you send out yet another postcard and you follow up with a phone call to share with them the great news. And by the way, because of the extensive marketing plan that we've introduced to sell this home, we have generated many buyers that want to buy a home in our neighborhood. So who do you know who'd like to buy a home, sell a home, or invest in real estate that I could call today? And then just sold campaign is a little pat on the back for you, right? And yet you're sharing with them what the property sold for. And again, asking the question, because you've developed many buyers for that neighborhood, who do they know within the neighborhood who's looking to sell their home within the next 6 months? And in so doing, you will identify several nurture prospects, seeds that you've now planted for a future harvest. So as it relates to, and I brought this up, the 2 different buckets, the dreaming phase and the buying and listing phase, we've got to develop this ability to nurture these prospects. So at Icon, we've put together what I consider to be some of the best content as it relates to nurturing prospects on the face of the planet. And we've developed that into a 12-touch seller campaign and a 10-touch buyer campaign. And Sarah Pellegrini, one of our coaches, was instrumental in making this happen. If you guys would like to get your hands on that touch campaign, I just want to give it to you. I think it's that important to your business. I want you to just implement it, deploy it, and go out and make millions of dollars with it, okay? Just email me at Shon, S-H-O-N, which, Nick, by the way, that's the correct way to spell Shon, just in case anybody's wondering. Shon at iconcoachingre.com, and I will bounce back to you, 22 Word documents that you can implement and deploy within your CRM to earn those people's business, to nurture them along. Another what to do, I encourage you to engage in customer appreciation events. However, I think the mistake that most realtors make is that these events are just social events. And that's all good and fine. And there's an element of that you need in your business. Yet I would encourage you to do events that really align with the core purpose of your company. So a real estate investor seminar is right on target with that. Many people do first-time homebuyer seminars, and yes, I think that's great. Yet again, we reap what we sow, right? So you could work with first-time homebuyers all day long at the bottom of the barrel price point, or you could do a real estate investor seminar and actually double, triple, quadruple your average sales price. Let me tell you how to do it real quick. And this is the one idea I want you to take away from today with a real estate investor seminar. And recognize you have what it takes to promote a very successful event. And recognize it's not all on your shoulders. You don't have to bear the brunt of the promotion yourself. In essence, what I'll encourage you to do is reach out to a real estate attorney, a financial planner, an insurance agent, a property manager, a 1031 tax-deferred exchange specialist, a CPA, and a loan originator. And you'll pull these people together for a meeting, because these become your promotion partners in what they call in marketing a host-parasite relationship. In essence, you'll get indirect access to their databases to promote this event. Because even if you had 2,500 people in your database and you personally promoted, you might get 50, 60 people to show up, yet when we leverage through others in different industries, non-competing, that benefit when you close a real estate transaction and they invite their database to attend this event as well. Now, instead of inviting 2,500 or 500 or 200 people, you're now inviting in the thousands, into the tens of thousands of people to attend this event. So you provide them with a marketing plan. You give them a timeline as to when they're going to send out this email or this touch, and when are they going to mail the flyer or the postcard. You bring them all to a centralized registration software, simple as Eventbrite. You give them each unique URLs so you can track how many people the attorney's getting registered versus the property manager. And when the day of the event arrives, you give each one of these people 10 minutes on stage. So you don't have to be the creator of all the content either. So the real estate attorney is going to take the stage and tell them how to set up an LLC to house the assets. Your financial planner will tell them how they can convert their 401k to a self-directed IRA and invest their own money in non-owner occupied income producing real estate. Your insurance agent will tell them what types of policies they'll need associated with owning non-owner occupied properties. Property manager, of course, will tell them how to vet candidates to make sure that they get the right tenants in there the first time. 1031 tax-deferred exchange specialists will teach them how to screw the IRS out of those capital gains monies, right? So they can leverage that to buy a higher priced property in the future. And the CPA will teach them how to take advantage of the tax strategies to depreciate that asset and win the tax game. And then finally, your loan originator will tell them how to leverage the dormant equity that they have in their principal residence to buy non-owner occupied properties. Now, Nick, let me tell you, the first time I did this, I put 8 properties under contract within 30 days with an average sales price of $832,000. At the time, in Denver, Colorado, the average sales price was just $172,000. You say, well, how did you increase the price point so dramatically? See, people were taking a $500,000 401k, converting it to a self-directed IRA. They were leveraging that money, and they buy like a 20-unit apartment building from me for $1.5 million. So that's how we increased the average price point. And by the way, that event cost me nothing to put on. The promotion partners each paid their pro rata share. And since I was the ringleader of the event, I didn't pay any expenses.
And what's great is that you have all of these people there kind of, doing the presentation. I'm sure that you said a few words, but you show all these potential investors that you've got all these people on your team, and they can't go wrong with, the guidance that you're going to give them.
No doubt about it, Nick. So I emceed the event. So I introduced each speaker and I got them to give them a round of applause and that sort of thing. And then I was the last one to present. And what I did is I just put up on the screen a simple APOD of a real estate investment opportunity that existed that day. So I just grabbed a duplex that was available. I walked them through the APOD and what their ROI would be. And that's a really simple calculation. I'd be happy to teach you guys how to do that to get to that simple net cash return and the return on investment. And then we talked about the concept of mailbox money, right?
Yeah.
To make money, all you have to do is go to your mailbox. And that's a fun position to be, as well as like wake up money. And we talked about building their real estate portfolio, that we would be their consultant through this process, that we're not just after one sale, we want to help them build their financial empire. So nevertheless, take that idea, guys, run with it. I promise you it's going to produce massive dividends for you. And then finally, I just want to walk through this quick model toward mastery. Each one of us, we're constantly in the state of foundation. So foundation to me really means your state of being. It references the biblical law of be, do, have, right? Because a lot of people, they want to compare themselves to others. And that's where many of our limiting beliefs come from. They might say, oh, well, look at Mark Spain. He's closing over 3,000 transactions. Sure. If I had what Mark had, then I'd have 10,000 billboards too. And I'd do just what he does. And then I could finally be the person I want to be. And yet that's backward, right? Or they say, well, if I do the work, I'm going to have the income and then I can be the person. And really it's more about being first. And that's the foundation of your success in this industry. See, because when you're being the person you need to be, in essence, thinking like that person thinks, well, then you'll do what you're supposed to do. And when you do what you're supposed to do, you're going to have whatever it is that you desire. So your state of being really consists around 4 different categories. First, your knowledge of the selling process, your knowledge of the models, the systems, the tools, whatever that is, right? Your mindset, Do you have an empowering mindset, like your greatest cheerleader, you can do it, or are you developing some limiting beliefs in the process? Next, your skills. Do you know what to say? Do you know how to say it? And your habits, are you saying it to enough people? And I think the last is probably the most important, because F.M. Alexander said that people don't decide their future, they decide their habits. And their habits decide their future. Yet most people form habits without intention, right? And by the time we're 20 years old, our mind has had so many exposures, gang, we're on autopilot. So see, here's how it works. Something happens, right? We have a certain reaction, and then we get a certain result. And the next time that something happens, most people have the same exact reaction and they get the same result. So guys, in order to get to better, we all must get to different. Doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result, well, you already know. I don't even need to say it. And we're not insane. Okay, so next comes pipeline as we move up this model toward mastery. So pipeline is all about lead generation, lead follow-up, talking to enough people, yeah? And yet we're in foundation and pipeline at the same time. So it's not an or, it's an and. We're in foundation and pipeline. And this is where most breakdowns occur. As I said, instant gratification just isn't fast enough. And oftentimes realtors feel like the effort they're putting out doesn't match the reward that they're gaining. And they give up, they quit. They go out and get a quote unquote real job. Rather, those with tenacity, those with the right mindset, they're going to break through from pipeline to momentum. Now, momentum is a fun place to be, guys. It's also a really scary place to be. And the reason I say that is because oftentimes when a realtor breaks into momentum, what they ultimately do is they babysit the transactions. They turn into control freaks, right? They want to hold the hand of the prospect and they want to jump on every problem that comes up. And meanwhile, what happens to the pipeline phase of their business?
It starts to diminish because you're focusing so much on this.
No doubt about it. So what they do is they springboard into momentum. Yay, happy, fun day, right? Yet then next month they fall back down into pipeline. And then they'll springboard into momentum and they fall back down to pipeline. And guys, that is a short road to burnout. That's where January sucks and February is awesome. And then March sucks and April's awesome, right? And it's an unpredictable, very stressful way to go through this business. So rather, let's just agree that it's an and, not an or. So at this phase, you're in foundation and pipeline and momentum, right? We can't ignore the pipeline phase of the business. And then we finally break through to this level that I call leverage. And leverage comes in 4 categories, right? It's models, systems, technology, and people. And this phase is it's also an and, not an or. So at this phase, you're in foundation, pipeline, momentum, and leverage, right? Now, the good news about pipeline is, yes, it can be effectively delegated. The bad news is you get to master it first so that you can teach the people on your team how to be successful. In fact, go back and watch last month's webinar. I show you a way to set your teammates up for success in this industry by forcing them through a gauntlet, making them be an OSA first, then a showing partner, then a buyer agent, and then they can go into a listing specialist role if they so desire. And going through that gauntlet, you've given them phone skills, the ability to connect and build rapport, to close for appointments. You've given them market knowledge, so they know the neighborhoods, they know the floor plans, they know the builders, the lot sizes, the school districts, all of that is required knowledge for a realtor to achieve extraordinary success. And then finally, we get to this level of mastery. And I believe it's a lifetime journey. I feel like the more I know, the less I know. Or once I've mastered something or feel that I have, then some disruptor has come in and now I get to relearn a different process. And that's what's so fun and unique about this industry, right? So my question to you is, which phase are you in? And what are you going to do this week to take even a baby step toward the next phase in the model? And I'll just throw it up there here real quick. It's either foundation and pipeline, momentum, leverage, or mastery. Which phase are you in? And what are you going to do this week to get to the next level? And I'll pose this question because the quality of the question determines the quality of the answer. What needs most help? Is it the what you're doing? Do you feel that you've got the best modality, the best methodology to attack this business? Is it the how you're doing it? Is it the skill set? Is it the knowledge that needs the most work? Or is it the who you're in business with? And only you can answer that question, yet we have developed a business assessment that will help you find that answer. Now, there's icon maxims. We've got a list of 36 of them here. These are just little phrases that almost magically kind of shift your mindset, get you to take the next right step in building your business. And this icon, Maxim, I wanted to bring up there is you're either a dream believer, which they're in abundance, no doubt about it, or you're a dream buyer. And only you can choose. So as I mentioned earlier, you guys can get that 12-touch seller campaign as well as a 10-touch buyer campaign in Word format that you can modify, make it your own by simply sending me an email. Let me put that up here in a second. Yet before we go there, complimentary business assessment. If you are interested in that, guys, we don't charge a thing for it. If nothing else, it's going to bring awareness to what's going on in your business. And awareness is the first step always to positive change. Nick, I kind of look at it like this. I don't know if you've ever had the experience of this happening to you. I certainly have, where I went out to dinner with a bunch of friends, right? And we're having a great time and we're all laughing and I'm smiling really big. We're having fun, right? And then I excuse myself to run to the restroom. And as soon as I'm washing my hands and I look at myself in the mirror, I got a huge piece of spinach stuck right in my front tooth, right? I didn't even know it. Nobody was nice enough to tell me about it. Yet I couldn't do anything about it until I was aware of it, right? So that's the why behind the complimentary business assessment. Gang, we'll get you to rate yourself, your business, on 10 points of business development, leadership, and productivity. So ideally, we'll discover the gaps in your business, which we're very successful at doing that, and we'll share with you our methodology that will help you bridge that gap very effectively. So, one last thing. I want to give a shout out to our latest program, SOAR. It stands for Success Other Agents Realize. And it is 4 full days of presentation, gang, done over a 28-day period. It's designed to ramp your business up, and we will be in a city near you very, very soon. Yet if you're interested in more information about that, you can find it on our website, or you can reach out to me. Just drop me an email, and I'll put that up in a second. Yet the SOAR results, we're averaging 8 contracts in just 28 days. Guys, would that be a game changer for you? Would that help you improve your trajectory? If so, just drop me an email. Here it is. I've offered you 3 things. First is the seller touch campaign and the buyer touch campaign. Second is a complimentary business assessment call. And then finally, third, if you're interested in learning about our SOAR program and potentially connecting me with somebody who could bring it to your market area, then please just drop me an email and let me know, and I'll schedule a call with you or with them or whomever that is, and we'll talk about how to bring that program to you. It's super powerful.
So Shon at Icon Coaching RE, because people were asking what it was. So you just put it up on the screen there. So I'm just going to type it in here so people can see it in the chat and in Facebook. All right, awesome. That's a lot of great value to get for free. Amazing.
No, it's my pleasure. I'd give away everything if I could. Really, I would.
Yeah. Some really great stuff. So make sure you reach out to Shon. Shon, SHON, not Sean. I'm sure you get that a lot. Shon at Icon Coaching RE. You can go to iconcoachingrE.com. You can go to Random Acts of Coaching on labcodeagents.com and see Shon's previous webinar and get the slides there from that. And there's some downloads too. And this is going to be up there really soon as well. That was amazing. I'm going to rewatch this so I can take more notes. I love the red carpet treatment that you gave to your buyers and just like the experience they would go through when they came into your office for their consultation. I love the investor seminar idea. There's so many great takeaways here that I need to start revving up on too. So
let me just throw one more out there, Nick, real quick. I learned this from Bob Wolf, who picked it up from Ray Kroc of McDonald's, right? When you get the kids, gang, you get the parents, right? So Bob Wolf would do this. He shared this with me. He said, anytime they have small children, 4, 5, 6, 7, he said, I would get down on one knee to be eye level with them. I'd take out one of my business cards and I would hand it to that little child. And I would say, my name is Shon Kokoszka and I'm a real estate agent. Now my phone number is on that card. And if you see your parents talking to anybody else that's a real estate agent, I want you to call me. Okay. And I thought that was pretty good. So additionally, we took that a step further. And we had a listing contract and a buyer agency agreement for children. So in essence, we outlined how they could be, good while looking at homes, like they agreed not to touch other people's toys and things like that. And, they agreed to keep their room clean and all. So when we involve the kids, guys, we get the parents.
That's a really fun idea. I mean, how many times are you showing buyers around and like one of the kids just breaks a toy in the bedroom and you're like, oh my God. You know what I mean? So I love that idea. That's great. I'm going to use that. Well, this has been really helpful. I hope everyone got a lot of value. The replay is going to be up really soon. You can see Shon again next month. He's got a few more webinars with us, thank you so much for being here, Shon. It's been a great learning experience for me and everyone watching.
Thank you, Nick. I appreciate the opportunity.
Do we have a question? Oh, no, someone just said thank you. That's all. Awesome. Well, you are welcome. Thanks, Shon. We'll see you soon.
My pleasure. Thank you all. Take care.
Have a good one.